Good morning, everyone. My name is Max Young. I am CEO of Capital BPM and I'm a Camunda Champion. I'm here with some other very, very, very smart people who are also Camunda Champions. I'd like to go ahead and ask everyone to introduce yourself. So, Talis, I'll ask you to start and then just hand the baton off to someone else. And by the way, this is not officially the Camunda Champions podcast. We just can't come up with a good name. We're working on it. Talis,
Me, I'm the first one?
you are the first one. You're the handsome.
Okay. Last in, first out. So my name is Thales. I'm a community champion for about 2 years now. And I used to do some fun stuff with Camunda 7 mostly, and trying some things that put together Camunda and robot framework. Made some really good friends along the way. These is one from like the old times, and like other like fellow like friends that came with time. And yeah, that's it. I don't know what else to say.
Because you're
Yep.
working on your PhD in Canada right now, right?
Yeah, I'm currently a PhD student at the University of Waterloo, and that has been an experience. So a lot of like, I'm not having so much time to do the fun stuff with Camunda that I wish I was, but yeah. So yeah. I'm
I'm
just to see the discussion because I like being around you guys. That's it.
awesome. Awesome. Thanks for making time for this. I can only imagine how busy you are. Please hand the baton to someone else. Maria, I'm
I'll
going to
pick it
chat.
up.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
for-
please. Go ahead.
so I'm Thies, and I work as a consultant in the Netherlands on BPM projects, mainly with Camunda. As Thala said, I've been around a while in the community and met a lot of people there, and still lots of interesting things to discuss.
Very cool. Very cool. Maria, please introduce yourself and hand the baton off to someone else.
Thank you, Max. I'm working as a service product manager at ABA Group, focusing on process automation, product strategy, customer experience. I love bringing new ideas to life and showing customers not just how Camunda works, but why it matters and what is the value for them. It's all of my side. And Thomas, could you please continue?
Yes, sure. Hello, everybody. My name is Thomas. I also work as a consultant, mostly in banking field. I'm also running my own consultancy, Astomicon. And I've been coming a champion for 1 year. So it's my the first year is coming to an end. But even before that, I was involved. I was organizing meetups, etc., etc. But I was just not so much strongly interested in the Camunda Champion title that came last year, and so I'm happy to meet fellow Camunda champions from around the globe.
Thomas, where are you based out of again? Please remind me.
In the Czech Republic, in
Oh,
Prague.
okay. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. So let's start with one of my I was just at CommandaCon New York, and that was an amazing experience. Jakob was kind enough to invite us to be part of the keynote speaker, and we talked a little bit about what some of our customers are doing with agentic orchestration. One of the things I think I've thought a lot about, which is why I think Commanda has a huge advantage when it comes to the integration of AI. And so here's my thesis, and I like to lay this out and let you guys, either chime in or tear it apart because it's a badly thought out idea. My thesis is that the largest barrier to people adopting AI, executives adopting AI into their organization, one of the largest barriers is it is essentially presented as a black box. If you talk to someone who knows about like MCP and so on, they'll say, well, you can just have the MCP figure out how to do it and you give it the task and it's just wonderful. And these senior executives have been around the block and they're like, that does not sound safe to me. How am I going to trust my multi-million dollar, multi hundreds of million dollar business to an AI that may hallucinate on the fifth million transaction and throw away all of our money, right? So I think that that's an emotional and pragmatic barrier to entry. I think the way that Camunda is solving this by essentially saying, look, you can have a structured process, but tactically, in specific spots, you can have these ad hoc agentic processes that inject, AI orchestration, but it's controlled, it is scoped, it is within the part of a larger whole, which is largely structured. I think that that solves a really important consumption problem because it allows the business to be judicious in the injection of AI orchestration into their process. The business is probably, it's 2025, almost 2026. They're probably already using AI tactically. Like here's a step that does sentiment analysis, or here's one that does like document processing. But the larger injection of AI actually doing orchestration seems like a big step. And I think that the way you take that big step is by carefully taking smaller steps that you feel comfortable with. And I think that's where agentic orchestration comes in, because you can say, predefined structure step, predefined structure step, predefined structure step. Now, here's where we do like customer service, and there's 7 things, and we get the AI figure out what the consequences of those are. But then we go back to like a structured paradigm. So to me, that seems like a better fit than like an MCP or like either like a LangChain or a LangFlow, which I think can be kind of overwhelming. So I'll throw that on the floor to everyone, either tear my idea apart or chime in on it.
Well, I agree with you, if I may jump in. And on top of that, Camunda always said, always go deterministic first. So if there is a deterministic way, DMN or whatever, deterministic, you go for that. And then if you come into a situation where there is no deterministic solution, then bring your agents in, which is certainly much better than doing nothing.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's what I see. I see it as a last instance in the process. So they are not saying give all your job to the agents; they will save your life, right? They are saying keep your processes structured, keep your processes deterministic, and use agents when it makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sorry, Maria. Sorry, go on.
No, please. I didn't mean to.
I noticed I interrupted Maria in the very beginning. So
no, I was going to actually invite Maria next. Maria, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And I also see this demand of some interesting to AI, but sometimes the customers struggles with they can start. Yeah, because not enough trust to the new technology, etc. But how to start? Where we can see the first value of this new technology in our business, right?
Right.
And so very interesting how we can explain where they can start from. What should be the first step to this new way, new era? Yeah,
Yeah.
and I want to also have some questions. So, do you have real customers who are already trying to integrate LLM AI into processes, or it's just a hype right now? What do you think?
I'm gonna invite Tisa into the conversation. I'm gonna let him talk about that. But also, Tisa, I want to hear your opinion on the premise, and then Talis will come to you, and then I'll answer your question, Maria.
So from my side, with current customers, no, there's not any usage directly. Although there's definitely a lot of exploration going on where use cases could be. Earlier today, I saw a proposal by somebody who I shall not mention because they're in this call, but maybe we could come up with a bunch of use case ideas for this to make it even clearer to everybody in which kind of different areas you could apply this kind of thinking. But I definitely agree with you, Max, that and maybe hasn't even been emphasized that much, that you could easily just start with a single task where you say it's still completely valid to say, okay, we have a place in one of our processes where we could use a LLM somewhere.
Mhm.
And that's still perfectly fine to do. That could be your first step. And then when you're ready to start relinquishing a little bit more of the control of the flow as well to something that is maybe not completely deterministic, then you have this option, which has been deliberately blended into the product
Yeah.
so that you can apply it tactically where you feel comfortable and where it adds some real value, because there is still value in deterministic orchestration, of course. And I'm really glad that that hasn't been this kind of complete turnover. Oh yeah, everything is AI now, and it has to be AI. That is the only way. There will be no
Yeah.
deterministic. That's just not the way organizations view it, I think, and I don't think they should either. There are places to use this, and there are places where it doesn't have a direct benefit over deterministic, I think.
Yeah. You couldn't be more right. Talis.
I might just derail the whole thing, but like, please stick with me on the analogy that I'm trying to make here. It's just like I see like Camunda and these more deterministic orchestration
Mhm.
layer as imagine a factory and you have like these really smart KUKA robots. If you don't have a good conveyor belt, really well thought out, which you can stop, divert, change direction, these really good robots, they are useless because the product is not coming to them, it's not being manufactured properly. So I see like you have these really smart agents everywhere, and they're really good at like their specific
Yeah.
thing, and they can communicate a little bit, but they need to be close to each other. But you need really good conveyor belt to put everything together and see where things are going wrong. And in those conveyor belts, you have humans from time to time checking things. So like to me, this deterministic layer, the orchestration layer, uh, is like that. Like it's a really good, like well thought out factory, and this is the conveyor belt. After like if, without that, robots are just like they're automating useless stuff. So you need that layer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I I have a lot to say about that, but before I monopolize this, does anyone else have anything they want to chime in on this? I I don't want to click off this topic. I think it's really interesting, but as others, as our peer experts are speaking, I'm sure that your neurons fired. Does anyone have anything they want to throw in? Okay, I'm going to set the stage for something. Maria, I'm going to come back to you because you said something that I think is really critical. You talked about the ROI, and I think one of the key things with the ROI is we actually need to be able to give our customers an effective tactical heuristic with which they can measure the value of injecting AI into their processes, as opposed to, just saying vomiting AI out in front of everyone. Like, good luck, here's something shiny, right? So I know you've given this some thought, and so I'd like to invite you to talk about this. But Talis, going back to what you said, one of the metaphors I use a lot is imagine that you have a robot in your kitchen that can make your three favorite dishes, right? It can make salmon and steak and I don't know, pasta. And this is a great robot. It knows exactly what to do, right? It goes to the pantry, it gets the flour, it gets the fish, it cooks in the oven. It's fantastic. This is great. It's better than not having a robot. You better than having a personal chef and all this kind of stuff, but it's very inflexible. Going back to your conveyor belt example, if the flour is a couple of millimeters to the left, the robot might not need to get it. And if it does, then you've got to like make sure that you test the entirety of the robot's life cycle in order to make it happen, right? What I think where the agentic AI metaphor comes in is basically instead of having this one robot, you have a couple of smaller robots. One is responsible only for getting things out of the pantry. One is responsible only for getting food out of the fridge. One is responsible for the oven. One is responsible for seasoning. One is responsible for ordering new material. And on top of that, standing back, you kind of have this maitre d' robot, right? His job is to orchestrate these other robots. And I think that's the metaphor that I sort of imagine with the injection of agentic AI. So as opposed to having this sort of highly very choreographed, very orchestrated process, I think what you're doing is you're stepping back a little bit and allowing like a tiered level of orchestration. So the maitre d' robot ends up injecting these things. And maybe if you decide I'm sick of salmon and I want chicken, you inject one smaller robot that can now cook chicken for you, right? You inject one other smaller robot that can, I don't know, order new items for you or check the temperature or make sure the food's not bad. This ability to sort of dynamically make a smaller investment that can add tactical value to me seems like it's very much in line with what agentic orchestration brings to the table and what is frankly a natural continuation of the philosophy of BPM, which is add steps that add value at the right place at the right time. So there's my little rant.
That almost sounds like the way we used to organize work that was done by humans as well.
It,
So we have specialized people and we have lots of them
mhm.
and we use them tactically to do the things that we need to get done. And
Yep,
maybe they execute a complete process all by
yep.
themselves or with the help of their colleagues, or they do just one task. So it sounds a lot like the same model, but then applied to different kind of workers.
That's a really great observation. It's almost like not artificial intelligence, but artificial, uh, I don't know, delivery? I don't know, but you're making a good
Resource
point.
management,
Yeah, yeah.
the
I love that.
use
I
a
love
cringe
that.
term.
That's a really insightful observation.
Yeah, but
Um,
you're definitely right on the flexibility, because that's what gives you the flexibility to change things. So if you have specialists that can do maybe, let's say, three
yeah,
very specialized things, at some point you realize, well, things have moved on. One of those things has changed. So let's retrain those people to do the new thing as well. So now they can do four things and we can slowly shift to the fourth way of doing things. And the same goes here. You could have one resource, so to speak, that could do everything as it's currently done,
mhm.
but that becomes completely inflexible if everybody can only do the whole thing in one way.
Yeah.
Now we have to change everything for everybody if one minute detail of that whole chain needs to change somehow.
And not just that, but if you do change one minute detail, you got to go back and test everything because you never know about the
Yep.
butterfly effect, right? Whereas if it's it's a modular component that serves a purpose, you can swap that out. And so long as it meets its semantic obligation to the other systems, that's what you need
It
to
needs
have.
some isolation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that is definitely on my mind. Um, Maria, what about, I want to go back a couple of steps. You talked about ROI. What have you found to be some heuristics that customers can use to test objectively the ROI from AI? Is it things like man hours saved, risk reduction, the reliability, scalability? What are you doing out there from your perspective, working with the customers?
First of all, we need to show the business value for customer, why they should involve some AI in their process,
Mhm.
because sometimes, but not sometimes. Usually, I hear the sentence, "We want AI." Okay, what for? What you want AI? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
because because and etc etc etc, and then we start our discussion where AI can bring you some more value. Yeah, because
yeah,
of course we can add some AI into your processes somewhere, etc. But without any sense, so
yeah,
doesn't matter. Yeah, and here the most questions, what do you know, what do you want with AI, where you can you want to see some help from this
yeah,
new technology, etc. For example, which part of processes, okay, we understand how it works, what can bring us AI,
yeah,
and okay, let's see on your process, from your perspective, where some part of your processes can bring AI and get you some values. So, and then start step by step, starting this discussion, we can analyze where we can start, where we can start with small trust, but improve our attitude to this new technology and to see more and more value for their business.
Yeah, yeah. I think there are a couple of like pre-made heuristics that make a lot of sense, especially from an AI perspective. Things like how many hours of manual work are you reducing, right? How does it scale? I had one customer that was able to do about they have beds in a hospital, so they were doing something manually. And because of that, they were only able to do about 200 patients, like I think a month, right? But when we replaced it with AI, they were able to actually say, hey, this is essentially infinitely scalable if we just put in the right job workers to call the AIs. And for them, they were actually able to go and get a loan for the next level of their business because they were able to prove that they could support like, 5,000 beds because they had this system that would scale. They weren't bottlenecked by the number of trained people that they had that could do this sort of complicated thing that required knowledge workers. So I think that's one metric. Obviously, metrics like saving cost, the cost of both in terms of, execution cost, but also the cost of making changes. I think that's a common one. I will tell you, Maria, one of the questions you asked earlier was, do you have any customers that are doing AI? All but one of my customers are doing AI. I have one customer, and we have a lot of customers. Um, all but one of them has a system, and they're like, "Hey, it works. Don't want to touch it." Very reasonable. But every other one of our customers is in the middle or at the beginning or at the end of going to an agentic solution. It is now that may be maybe in the United States, people are a little bit more hungry for this. Maybe like a I think the European engineers are frankly probably a little more disciplined and they tend to be a little more conservative. Like, let's just stand back and watch this a little bit, make sure the car doesn't blow up, right? But all my customers in the United States, and all of them are in some, except for one, are at some phase of adopting AI and agentic orchestration.
Can I make an observation there, Max?
Please.
Because you gave some great examples of the way you could measure what the effect
Mhm.
of using AI somewhere could have been. Um, but before we even started, when you asked the question, I thought, well, should there be any specific to AI measurements that we should be looking at? Are there any specific things? And the examples you gave, if you ask me, are really all related to simply the process performance. They're all about increasing the performance of that process. So they're not necessarily particular to the AI,
Yeah.
although they may be uh, you may get that from doing this specific AI implementation, but they all relate to how is the process performing? Are we able to get customers to get more things done? Are we performing more effectively ourselves? Are things running efficiently? All these kinds of things come down to
Yeah.
whether the process is performing as a whole, and these are the things that you measure, and you should be able to see the effect there.
That's a really deep observation. You're completely right. I didn't say anything there that wouldn't apply to traditional processes. The only caveat that I would add is that the kinds of things that you can automate are now expanded. Where were things you
Oh
couldn't
yeah,
do before,
definitely.
right? Like subjective task assignment based on the sentiment and the season and the holidays and the kind of stuff that a human being would normally always be required for. That, we have an order of magnitude more complexity that we can support now.
Yeah,
But
definitely have a completely different toolbox to work with, and you can do completely different tasks in an automated fashion than you could before. So that might completely reshuffle the way the process looks or is
yeah,
structured. But in the end, it still comes down to what performance do we get from that. But we might even get new processes, or we might drop some that we used before. We don't need them anymore because something else is handling all of that work.
yeah.
So that might definitely change things a lot, and we have completely different capabilities. But yeah, it still comes down to how are we performing?
You're right. Thomas.
Yeah. Um, Very great observation, that is indeed. Why do you think that we are so slow in adopting those technologies? Because I think recently, yesterday or the day before yesterday, there was a Gartner article
Mhm.
published stating that there is AI race going on, right?
Mhm.
And every vendor is bringing up their own agentic AI solution on the market.
Yeah.
But the gap between vendors and adopters is growing, right? So there are, first of all, too many solutions, and second, we are too slow in adopting. And what you said before sounded like actually easy. The toolbox is greater, so how come we are so slow? What do you think?
You mean why in Europe do I think you're a little more slow?
No, is it a cultural difference, really? Is it Europe versus US? Or is there maybe also some another barrier? I don't know.
Well, I think yeah. So I'm going to speak very subjectively, and I'm probably going to sound like an idiot, but it's been my experience. So I'm a chess player, right? And the United States has a chess rating system, and Europe has a chess rating system. So you can be like a 1700 in the United States or 1700 in fight, right? And if you do, basically what we typically find is that the European chess players are about 200 points higher. So a 1700 in the United States plays at about the same level as a 1500 in Europe. No
Mhm.
one knows why. It just is the case. I have the same sense from complex engineering discipline. Most of the people that I work with, and this could just be inherent bias of what I see, but most of the engineers that I work with from Europe are your hardcore engineers. They come from some polytech that you had to compete into. They've got, you know, they've got a strong background in engineering and mathematics, electrical, and so on. And there's sort of in their DNA a very sort of um, disciplined approach in how they look at things. And in the United States, you see it a little bit more. Um, you can come into like be a software engineer and not have a college degree or whatever. I'm sure that happens in Europe too, but it seems like in my experience it happens less. And I think that if that rigor is in your DNA, one of the first rules of engineering is if you don't know that you're going to improve a system, don't touch it, right? If you don't know that you're going to improve a system, don't touch it. So I get the feeling that it's just systematically speaking, a little more discipline around adopting a new technology. I don't think that there's anything else. I don't think there's any less ambition or capitalism or so on and so forth. But I do think that there's just a systematic um, sort of well, wait a minute, let's not touch this thing until we're sure that, it's not like blockchain. Like, hey, 9 years ago, everyone was blockchain, blockchain, and what did we actually do with it? Uh, so I don't know I don't know if that's accurate, but that is my entirely subjective and probably ill-informed opinion. So that's why I said what I said.
Mhm, mhm. Thank you, thank you. But still, we touched on, like what's the driver behind AI adoption, and it's mostly business
Mhm.
improvement, right? We would like to improve
Yeah,
some metric, right?
yeah.
And so I assume there is some business stakeholder basically taking the decision how to adapt and in what steps and how slow or how fast.
Mhm.
Not the engineer, right? The engineer is the one executing that change, maybe, but not the one taking the decision. So I think I agree with you, Max, but I think there is more to it. I think that there is maybe some risk. What's the word? Risk averse
Risk aversion. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
aversion
Yeah,
of American, actually European
yeah.
managers, CEOs, C-level, etc., etc., versus the more business-oriented or actually maybe even uh, commercially oriented American C-levels and business managers.
Um, yeah, yeah. Maria, what do you think? Talis, what do you think? I'll invite Maria first, and then I'll invite Talis. And Talis, you're getting a heads up because now you get a minute to think about it.
I have something to spit out right now, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can wait.
No. Go ahead. If you're ready to spit it out, spit it out.
Okay, no, it's
We'll
just
give
because
Maria time to think.
to me, we are having some interesting technical conversation. But to me, in the end, this is all down to lawyers and economists, as in liability.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna like this is like we have like a lot of productivity. We can like swap three people out for these. Yes, when this goes wrong, who is responsible for it? Who is going to put their hand on the fire, say like, yes, you can fire these three people, or you can like we can rearrange these three people can go to other areas. And I I guarantee this is not going to break. This is not going to hallucinate. This is not going to go crazy. And whatever it happens, it's on me.
Yeah.
I don't see that like a technical person is never going to say that. Is never going to say like, yes, I
Right.
got it, because it understands that this is probabilistic, that there is, even if you set the temperature like as high as possible, there's always that little
Yeah.
tiny bit of hallucination that could happen. And then in the end, to me, it's all down to liability. And it circles back all the way to observability, knowing what's happening and being able to really understand why that decision was made. So
Yeah.
it's like observability throughout the process and how these agents talk to each other, but
Yeah.
also how the agent itself thinks. Until that happens, we're going to have wonderful technical conversations, and the lawyers at the company are going to say like, toy examples, fun experiments, not like the core. And that's it. Unfortunately, we need to make AI more observable, more explainable.
Yeah.
That's a challenge. And that's one thing that like tools such as like Camunda or whatever that like guts out like what these agents are talking to each other and how what happened in the process of it, it helps a lot because we need that. Really need that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fair. Maria, what do you think?
You know, so during our conversation, I can say that maybe business impact more important for all than technical issues, because of course some new technologies, AI or something, previously it was some big data, blockchain, etc. Yeah. It's great, great words, but when we have a conversation with business, for their is more important the business value, what it
Mhm.
brings for the business. And of course, all of new technologies has some new issues, new challenges from technical point of view, etc. But if when the business make a decision to migrate some new platform to new
Mhm.
involve a new product, etc., they should analyze some pros and cons. Yeah,
Yeah.
what we have when we stay on the some legacy system, and what we get when we improve our some technical architecture. I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
and involve into new platform, new product, something new. And here, the most important to show this value from not only from technical point of view that you reduce some technical debt, etc., but also from business perspective, what it brings to your business. And here I also want to
Team, I'm sorry.
make.
I've got to step away for 1 minute.
Yeah.
I'll be back, but keep going, please.
Okay, Max. And here I also have some questions. So when we say we know that Camunda already have a lot of new features in Camunda 8, and so very interesting from your point of view, what new features of the Camunda 8 have caused the most interest of discussion with your partners, with your customers, not only AI, but maybe something else. What do you think?
I can start, and mine is Breathe, because that was basically almost a year ago. That was like the rise of the Camunda RPA, and it was based partially based on robot framework, and that was like a huge hype for me and for my inner circle. But that is like basically towards only Camunda 8, right? But like from the recent ones, that's basically the last one that I was really hyped because of my interest in robot framework and RPA for automating stuff that is not easily automatable. But yeah, and then I got stuck in time.
Thank you. This from your point of view.
Yeah, I have to admit, I don't think there's been a lot of excitement over features necessarily. One of the things that does come up often that we want to start adopting is the new process testing capabilities. Because with the previous version, there were serious limitations to what you could do, and there was additional work involved to make those really practically usable. So definitely looking forward to getting our hands on that and having a look at what the differences would be and what we can now do much more easily with the framework than having to build all kinds of utilities and things around it. So that would be my main one, I think.
Great, thank you, Thomas.
For me, it will be mostly the new simplified architecture, because from my past, everybody was struggling with how to operate Camunda properly, like how to, like complex architecture, complex deployments. This is now getting easier, getting simpler, which is of course directly impacting chances of succeeding with big enterprise programs, because it's just easy to run, right? And what also belongs to that category, the new simplified unified API, maybe from the technical features, which is also bringing the right bunch of simplification into the architecture and into the over, like into understanding how that thing work actually.
I actually have another one. I have another one that I just remembered. And does this mean anything to you?
Sinus?
The ad hoc process. Man, when I saw that for the first time, ad hoc process, man. Because I'm a huge fan of case management for a long time, but it is like really hard to model, really hard to get it working. And so like ad hoc is like so cool, but it was never there. But now it is a chance to be there. So like that one I'm really like clapping and rooting and cheering for, like that it works.
So, for the people watching at home, I just want to take a second and kind of talk about what this ad hoc AI thing does. I just think it's really well thought out. So, if you're if you put this ad hoc sub process in, you can come in, you can add documentation that explains, what it is this guy does. You can come in and choose your model provider to kind of indicate, hey, this is the one I want. And you can even switch these out dynamically. Like you could imagine that you could put in like this sort of thing in a way that's configurable so that you're using the right LLM for the right thing. If you have your model, you can actually choose like the model that you're using. You can specify the tokens, the temperature, the top P, top K. You can have systematic prompts, which can also be dynamically defined if you put them in a variable. You can come in and have user prompts, again, very customizable. You can allocate your memory, right? So you can actually talk about, hey, the memory is going to be in process, or it's going to be document storage, or it's going to be custom implementation. So like a vector DB that's co-located for your purposes. You can have your agent context over here. You can actually have your context window size. You can set limits of the number of model calls. You can deal with your event handling, which actually indicates whether you would wait or you would interrupt. You can indicate your resources. So, for example, what is the thing that's coming back? Is it going to be text or JSON? You can talk about, set up specific fields here that would indicate like, hey, this is how I'm going to be interacting with my response. You can come in and kind of indicate, what the output response is over here. You can indicate your retries and so on. And then within each one of these activities that are in here, you can provide documentation that would describe what it actually does. So when the LLM gets to this guy, he's like, oh, well, this is the customer service tab, and this is, dispatching someone to go to the customer site or so on. And then even within these guys, you can come in and you can have like these AI specific tasks, right? That like you have like the ad hoc calling another agent that could be potentially different than the agent that's actually calling it. So something like Bedrock, for example, that's specifically designed to like parse documentation. I just think this is really well thought out. And this goes back to something that, Jakob and Daniel said at CommandaCon, which was the point was to make sure they didn't vomit out AI. Blech, good luck, right? They took their time, they thought about this. They came up with the right set of things that people care about controlling. So I'm really kind of excited about where you can go with this. And I have to say, when I think about this from the point of view of like a larger process, kind of going back to what you were saying, Talis, right? When we talk about this ability to sort of have case management, but it is injected as part of a larger process, right? So the item in blue is sort of your case management-y thing, right? And then these guys here can be your more structured process, and maybe they can even be, like a callable. And even these guys in here could be called, like they can be a callable, right? So let's say we decide that we have to offboard someone, and maybe the way we offboard someone has to be done in a very specific structured way because we have compliance issues that we have to deal with. You can still have the LLM decide who to call dynamically. So I just think like I think this makes so much sense. It makes as much sense to me as the paradigm shift from like lines of code programming to like a visual model like Camunda has, where you can essentially have the BPMN representing like a visual grouping of what's happening. So your business can look at it and go, I like this, I don't like that. But to me, like this ability to sort of say, this is where we have like the case management, but it's part of a larger process. And that larger process is kind of controlled, in a more structured way. This gives you the best of both worlds. And to me, that's really exciting because the reason case management typically didn't do as well as other more structured solutions is because it's hard to manage cases. Like you can have three fields that cause you to do this and then do the other, but there's a threshold of complexity. And it never actually gets past that. But now with the AI managing that threshold of complexity, I think it's really compelling.
and and like you stop sharing. You don't have to go back to sharing your screen, but like to that point, like imagine before these, like they implemented the ad hoc process,
Mhm.
you would have maybe one call to
Mhm.
one LLM, and these LLM would be the agent that will go
Mhm.
and connect to other LLMs and do other things, and hopefully come with a result, and hopefully that result is useful, because a lot of times we'll just break and not come with the result, and
Right.
sometimes we'll come with the result and the result is not useful. But now you don't have to just give it away and hope that it comes back. Like
Yeah.
which agents will be called and in which sequence, and these probabilistic nature of how these is going to work. Like you can have like the observability that you need, because that's all within your process. You can go back and like see like why these decisions were made, like what
Yeah.
on top of which information, why did it choose that, which tasks were instantiated, which other
Absolutely.
agents were called. So like this is really 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 cool in that sense. Like you swap one box totally black box. You had no idea what's going on out there and hope that it comes back to
Right.
something that it does the same, but you can see everything happening. So it's really, really cool in that sense.
Well, just um uh one thing I want to indicate here while we're here, one of the way, just a best practice for anyone who's looking at this, one of the things that I always do when I model these sorts of things is I have essentially, a task, a human task. And then within this human task, I'll tell the LLM, if you don't know what to do, create this task, right? Don't guess. If you don't have like super high threshold, whatever the threshold is,
Hmm.
this is,
Hmm.
don't just guess, like give this is your, exception handler, right? This is where you go if you don't know what else to do. Tell a person, the person will provide input and then reprocess based on their input, right? So one, I wanted to kind of highlight this as sort of a high level best practice for people. The other thing I want to say is, what we're finding for us is that a lot of our customers who are looking at adopting AI really want proof. They want confidence. So one thing we did that was interesting is we have one customer that has 5 years of applications, like loan applications they had done. They just have those like in PDF sitting on a storage drive. So we actually wrote a process that goes and uses IDP to extract the information out of those PDFs, run them through the proposed system, right? And see if there's fidelity to what is produced by the proposed system to what actually happened, right? So before they start, they've got 5 years of history, right? Like the way that these components are coming together in Camunda, the ease with which you can do IDP, the way that you can interact with RPA. So we're actually using RPA to actually pick up those PDF files and load them in so that we can extract the payloads out of them. And then, using Agentic AI to model it, and then using Optimize to actually see the performance metrics, and then coming back and testing all of that to make sure there's fidelity to what happened in the past to what we expect to happen now. Like it is an alphabet that is allowing me to tell new stories that I could never tell before. I think this is so cool. So, sorry. That was
And
Absolutely.
that's,
I agree with you. This Camunda makes these all pictures of isolated solutions
yeah,
more clear for all participants of the process, for business, for technical guys,
yeah,
and so it's not only improve our understanding of some issues, some problems in our process, yeah,
yeah,
but also give us um, more vision, yeah, strategy vision about how we can improve our business in the future.
yeah, yeah.
Some more insights, etc.
Guys, I actually meant to end this conversation about 20 minutes ago because I have other things that I have to do, but I was having so much fun I didn't want to. So thanks for everyone for sticking around. Does anyone have any last things you want to say? Any conferences or anything you want to promote? Any ideas, any suggestions, your own podcast or anything that you want to highlight here? Let's just go around real fast. So Talis?
I'm just probably saying goodbye because I'm probably stepping down as a Camunda champion.
What?
So yeah, because I'm not being able to contribute, and this next year is gonna be crazy again. I don't want to hold the place that someone might be doing some awesome work. So I'll
Oh,
probably be stepping down as a Camunda champion.
no, don't do
It
it.
was
we'll
really
miss
good
you.
to know all of you. Like we're friends, like we have LinkedIn, we have everything. So like I'll be around. So it was really nice to be here, and probably it's my last one, maybe. But
No,
yeah, it was an
Hopefully not.
honor
you're breaking my
to
heart. I hope
participate.
you reconsider. Okay, Tease.
Um, well, the only thing I could promote is for tomorrow. So if anybody's near Brussels, they could come to Camunda Local. I'll be speaking there and I'll be around, but
Nice. What do you
probably pretty short notice on that one.
what are you
Cool,
speaking
cool.
on?
On a customer case.
Oh,
It's
sweet.
actually the same case as we presented at CamundaCon in
Very
Amsterdam.
Very, very cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
Thomas.
Well, at the moment, nothing I can publicly speak about, but maybe just to give you a hint, Maria and myself, we are preparing something.
Very cool. Very cool.
And at the moment, I cannot say anything more than that.
Totally understand. Maria.
Yeah, nothing from my side right now.
Great.
So, yeah, thank you.
From my side, we are co-presenting with Camunda at a conference, a banking transformation conference in God, I don't know, like November 11th, 12th, something like that. I'll put a date on there. And then, Cat BPM does a podcast and we do our various things. So, if anyone has any questions, topics, whatever they want to talk about, please follow us. You can just hashtag Cat BPM. I want to thank everyone. I want to thank the Camunda guys for creating such a great product. They sometimes are kind enough to join us in this conversation. I hope that we can have that with us next time. And I want to thank you guys for making time for this. I know you guys are all super experts, and God knows I could not afford to pay your hourly rate to do this. So thanks for making time for this.
Thank you for all of you. Thank
Thanks,
you for your
everyone.
time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.